This is political warfare, and it just reopened one of Kenya's deepest wounds. Welcome to Kenya News Update today. I'm your host. A sitting member of parliament has directly accused the deputy president of being involved in one of the most horrific atrocities of the 2007 post-election violence. The allegation is explosive. The target is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The accuser is Kiambaa Ret MP Oscar Sudi. And the event is the 2008 Kiambaa church burning. This isn't just political mudslinging. This is a deliberate, calculated detonation at the very heart of Kenya's painful past, and it threatens to unravel a fragile peace. Why now? What's the real goal? And what does this mean for a nation still healing? We have a deep dive analysis based on 3 key sources. This is a story about power, memory, and the dangerous politics of history. First, you need to understand the weight of what's being invoked. We are talking about the Kiambaa church tragedy. It happened on January 1st, 2008. The location, the Kenya Assemblies of God Church in Kiambaa, near Eldoret. The country was in flames following the disputed December 2007 presidential election. Violence had erupted, largely along ethnic lines. In this chaos, a mob surrounded the church where hundreds of Kikuyu residents, mostly women, children, and the elderly, had sought refuge. The mob set the church on fire. They blocked the exits. Those who tried to escape were attacked with machetes, clubs, and arrows. The official death toll was 35. Witnesses and survivors have always said it was higher. Some estimates say over 50 people were burned or hacked to death. It was a defining symbol of the post-election violence. An image of pure barbarity. That violence ultimately claimed over 1,100 lives and displaced more than 600,000 Kenyans. It led to the formation of a coalition government and eventually the international criminal court cases. Kiambaa is a national trauma, a sacred wound. Invoking it is not done lightly. Now let's meet the key players. On one side, Oscar Sudi, the outspoken, often controversial UDA MP for Kiambaa Ret. He's a staunch ally of President William Ruto. But recently, he's been a vocal critic of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him of undermining the president and dividing the Mount Kenya region. On the other side, Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, a key figure in the Ruto administration. He has positioned himself as the undisputed political spokesman for the Mount Kenya region. The tension between Sudi and Gachagua is an open secret. It's a battle for influence, for the ear of the president, and for control of the lucrative Central Kenya voting bloc. The timeline here is critical. The tensions have been simmering for months. Gachagua has pushed his one man, one vote, one shilling revenue-sharing formula, which has caused national discord. Sudi and others see this as divisive. The verbal attacks escalated. Then Sudi crossed a line many thought was uncrossable. He didn't just criticize Gachagua's policies. He tied him to Kiambaa. This brings us to the core of the story. What exactly did Oscar Sudi say? Based on our sources, Sudi's allegation was specific and brutal. He did not make a vague allusion. He stated that during the church burning, Rigathi Gachagua was present. He implied Gachagua was not a bystander, but involved. Sudi claimed Gachagua was there and questioned what role he played. This is an allegation of direct involvement in a mass killing, not incitement. Not funding, but physical presence at a massacre. The official response from Gachagua's office has been one of absolute denial and condemnation. They have labeled Sudi's statements as reckless, malicious, and dangerous. They accuse him of seeking to incite ethnic hatred and reopen old wounds for cheap political gain. They've pointed out that Gachagua has never been formally accused or investigated for this crime by any official body, be it the Kenyan Police, the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, or the ICC. The statistics here are stark. One MP's allegation against a deputy president's clean legal record. But in the court of public opinion, legal records often don't matter. Let's look at the expert analysis of this move. Political analysts see this as a nuclear option. Dr. Mwangi, a political scientist we consulted, says, Sudi is playing a very high-risk game. He is weaponizing collective trauma. This is not about proving a case in court. It's about planting a seed of doubt, a stain of association in the minds of the public, particularly the Kikuyu community whom Gachagua claims to lead. The goal is delegitimization. If Gachagua is seen as connected to an atrocity that killed Kikuyus, his moral authority as their leader crumbles. It makes him vulnerable. It questions his very right to speak for the community. This is a direct challenge to his political base. Sudi, by making this allegation, is positioning himself as a defender of the community's true interests, casting Gachagua as a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a deeply cynical but potentially effective strategy. Now, we must examine the different perspectives. The opposition viewpoint, primarily from figures aligned with Gachagua, is one of utter outrage. They frame Sudi as an irresponsible agitator. They argue he is destabilizing the Kenya Kwanzaa government from within. They ask, why would an ally of President Ruto make such a damaging claim against his deputy? This leads to speculation. Is Sudi acting alone? Or is he a proxy for deeper forces within the ruling party who want Gachagua weakened or removed? Some see the hand of President Ruto himself, using Sudi to clip Gachagua's wings. Others see it as pure freelance ambition from Sudi. The international reaction, while muted, is one of deep concern. Diplomats are watching closely. Kenya is a regional anchor of stability. A reopening of 2,708 wounds is a nightmare scenario for international partners who invested heavily in peacebuilding and the ICC process. It raises fears of renewed ethnic polarization. The implications are severe. This moves politics from policy disagreement into the realm of existential ethnic threat. It shifts the debate from "you are a bad leader" to "you are a danger to our people." This kind of rhetoric is what fueled the violence in the first place. It dehumanizes the opponent. It makes compromise impossible. Furthermore, it sets a terrifying precedent. If this allegation is allowed to stand without severe consequence, what stops other politicians from digging up every atrocity from that period and assigning blame to their rivals? It could unleash a cascade of retaliatory accusations, dragging the entire political class into a morass of historical grievances. The peace we have is built on a fragile silence about certain details. Sudi has broken that silence. This brings us to the most important part: the impact on ordinary Kenyans. Forget the political chess game in Nairobi. How does this affect the Mama Mboga in Eldoret, the Boda Boda writer in Nakuru, the teacher in Kiambaa? First, it reopens psychological wounds. For survivors of the post-election violence, especially those who lost family in Kiambaa, these statements are a traumatic trigger. They are forced to relive the horror. Therapy and counseling groups have reported increased anxiety among survivors in the Rift Valley and central Kenya. Second, it sows fear and suspicion. In ethnically mixed towns, people start looking at their neighbors differently. Old tensions resurface, business slows down, people are less likely to travel or invest in certain areas. The social fabric, painstakingly rewoven over 15 years, feels thin again. Economically, uncertainty is the enemy of growth. Investors, both local and foreign, hate political instability. When top leaders are accused of mass murder, that is the definition of instability. Projects can stall. The shilling can come under pressure. Tourism, a key sector, suffers when international headlines scream about reopened ethnic violence. For the ordinary Kenyan, this could mean fewer jobs, higher prices, and a general sense that the country is moving backwards. Politically, it paralyses governance. When the deputy president is fighting for his political life against such a grave allegation, the business of government suffers. Development agendas take a backseat to political survival. The bottom-up economic model becomes bottom of the mind as the elite engage in a brutal fight at the top. So, what happens next? Several scenarios are possible. 1. The party and President Ruto move decisively to discipline Sudi, possibly through parliamentary sanctions or party expulsion, to reaffirm a red line and calm the nation. 2. Gachagua launches a fierce counterattack, not just denying, but perhaps filing defamation suits or even pushing for Sudi's prosecution for hate speech. 3. And most dangerously, the allegation takes on a life of its own. It becomes a rallying cry in central Kenya. It fractures the UDA party along pro- and anti-Gachagua lines. It forces every politician from the region to pick a side, leading to a major realignment before the next election. The 2027 election campaign may have just begun, and it's starting in the darkest possible place. For deeper insight, we turn to expert predictions. Security analyst Mr. Akath warns, the state must treat this with the highest level of seriousness. This isn't just an insult, it's a potential incitement tool. Security agencies should be on high alert for opportunistic violence, especially during political rallies. Historian Dr. Wanjiku draws a comparison. This is reminiscent of the bloody shirt tactics in post-Civil War America, where politicians invoked past violence to mobilize voters. It's effective because it bypasses logic and targets emotion, but it always leaves the nation more divided. The forecast is for heightened political temperatures, increased ethnic rhetoric, and a very tense atmosphere until a decisive action is taken to repudiate this kind of discourse. In conclusion, the key takeaway is this: Oscar Sudi has thrown a grenade into Kenyan politics. The shrapnel is hitting the nation's deepest scars. The immediate fallout is a poisoned political atmosphere and renewed fear among citizens. What you need to watch for is the response from three key entities: State House, the UDA party machinery, and the judicial system. Will they act to diffuse this, or will they let it fester? The path they choose will determine whether this remains an ugly political spat or becomes a national crisis. The ghosts of 2007 have been summoned. The question is, can we send them back to rest? Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more breaking news.